We now begin with our keynote sessions. He has more than 20 years industry experience in the management consulting space. Our special guest in the opening session, Mr. Sathish Gopalaiah, is a partner with Deloitte India and has a vast experience in the telecommunications sector. He also has a significant experience in the area of data analytics across industries. May I request you, sir, to please come on dais and share the insights on the future of connectivity. Mr. Sathish Gopalaiah.
Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. It's an honor. Thanks, Voice and Data, for inviting me. While you look forward to the various sessions, and your specific TV-style debates, which is going to be under 2 minutes for a speaker, I think I've been privileged to be given a little more time. And I do have a presentation, so do bear with me for some time. As I was given this topic of future of connectivity, I was thinking about it, and we are all aware that more than 3 billion people across the world do not have access to internet. And therefore, in that context, it's very interesting to talk about future of connectivity, because for most of these people, if not all of these people, to get connected, we need to look at new means of possibly connecting them. I think connectivity is not just about making phone calls and downloading data, but it is all about improving the quality of life, the quality of experience, the human experience, and also saving lives. And I've been in the telecom sector for more than 20 years now, and I'm very proud about the sector, and I'm sure that each one of you are, given that whatever we do and whatever advancements that we do in this sector impacts many other sectors as well and improves the quality of many other sectors. But whatever technologies that we have seen today and whatever advancements that we have seen today is not comparable to the advancements that we will see in the future, and it's going to have a much more profound impact than we have all seen. Given that context, I just wanted to just get started. If you look at India as a country, India as a region, the market potential is undisputed. You're talking about more than 1 billion subscribers. You're talking about more than 600 million internet users, more than 700 minutes per usage. I was talking to someone, and they said that the sort of India's network is like the Indian Railways, the largest sort of networks across the world. And many of them also believe that the connectivity, I know that some of us complain about the quality of connectivity and the calls, but they also think it's a technological marvel, given the minutes of usage and the billion people that we have, that we are able to even get to where we are. So it's amazing. And if you look at the sort of downloads, it's 10 GB, and it's going to get multiplied many times as we go forward. Again, whether you look at Facebook, whether you look at WhatsApp, whether you look at TikTok, the mere number of subscribers, in the last 3-4 years, that everything we have seen is amazing. And you can't just, ignore these facts. Even you look at digital commerce, $90 to $100 billion is, shows that how much potential that we have going forward. E-commerce, again, $34 billion seems to be a very small number, but from where we were to where we are today and where we are going to go tomorrow is again going to be amazing. Look at the online shoppers, and 175 million by end of this year, given where we were last year. Again, it's all in many magnitudes. But others are forging ahead, and I want to talk about some connectivity metrics, and I want to build on these connectivity metrics as we move forward today in the presentation. If you look at internet penetration, if you look at fiberization of the network backhaul, if you look at 4G adoption and average cost per data, we are in all these parameters, we're way behind both the emerging markets and as well as the mature markets. So I'm just putting these numbers there. Many of you are already aware, but it just gives us a sort of a context towards the sort of potential that we have and something to build. You look at the cost per GB of data, 33 cents some time back, 26 cents. And if you look at US, or you look at UK, or any of some of the emerging markets, much, much higher, right? So there is huge amount of potential as the ARPU increase is going to be. And if you look at a sustainable ARPU in the next few years, it has to be around 200 to 220 rupees. And it's not something which is going to be very far away, and it is a fact that we are all going to see. Now, given these metrics and the much work that needs to be done, we need to look at what is there for the future. And what we have done is we've looked at some of the mega trends that are going to impact each one of us. The first one is on vehicles. What we call in our world as the AECS, autonomous, electrified, connected, and shared sort of vehicles. But if you look at this, 1 hour of driving of an autonomous vehicle generates about 10 GB of data. So you're looking at massive amounts of data that's going to be generated. And I'm not talking about this much later in the future. Trials are already on. It's going to be a few years, and it's going to be coming to India as well in a matter of decade. So you can't ignore the fact that something like this can improve the safety on our road, reduce the sort of carbon emissions which are there, and again, improve the quality. And if you are connected, how you're able to improvise on everything. The next one is massive IoT. And we are calling massive IoT because we are talking about a number of devices which are low cost, low powered, which provides extensive coverage. And you're talking about almost 5 devices per person. And within a few years, we're going to see 10 devices. And by 2030, we are going to talk about 15 to 20 devices per person. That is the sort of extensive connectivity we're talking about. And as we are talking, there are about 25 to 28 billion devices which are connected. Now, all these things, makes a big difference in terms of the connectivity that would need to make these all work. Now, again, if you look at smart factories, right? Today, if you go to BASF in Germany, they have 600,000 sensors and networked devices. Now, that is not something that they're happy about. They want 10 more times of connected devices that we are talking. And for something like that, you need to have a technology that is able to connect 1 million devices per square kilometer. Again, this is something which we are again talking already happening, which is going to happen extensively. Now, we talked about Internet of Things, but Internet of Things is going to get morphed into Internet of Senses. We are talking about immersive experience. We are talking about human experience where, whether it is sight, whether it is sense of touch, hearing, taste, you are able to provide that immersive experience, and that sort of a technology is going to make things very different. The next one is on robots. I don't know how many of you all are aware that 36% of industrial robots which are sold in the world today are in China, right? The sort of expansion that China is going through in terms of 5G and what they are trying to do is unparalleled. And they are doing this not because they want to improve possibly the speeds and quality of subscribers. Yes, it is one of the reasons, but also they want to revolutionize their factories, right? So we are talking about 100 robots for 10,000 people, but if you look at it from a context in India, we are talking about 4 robots per 10,000 people as far as the industrial robots are concerned. So there is a huge amount of potential, there's a huge amount of what can be done here. Deloitte predicts that in the next year, the number of professional robots that will be sold will be much more than the industrial robots. And professional robots, it's not going to be very far off where you go to warehouses and you have robots picking and moving things. It's not something that is going to be far away. And if you look at it in the last 2 years, we have generated more data, whatever we have today. It's amazing. And this whole concept of digital twins is something that we need to be aware of. It is nothing but a living model that can drive a huge amount of business outcome. Just imagine, if you are able to simulate an entire smart city, what is going to happen in that smart city, including disasters, and if you're able to do that using a digital twin. Bridgestone today uses digital twins to improve its tire performance. A lot of people say, okay, what's the big difference between a digital twin and big data? When you already have big data, how is that going to matter? Yes, analytics is one of the aspects of the digital twin. It augments it, but it uses that data to actually see, okay, how do we go and develop new products? I think that's the massive difference. You all know about blockchain and the difference that the blockchain is actually going to have impact in our lives. I think we have 3 takeaways, and if you look at these takeaways, we will generate unprecedented amounts of data as we move along. We will unleash an interconnection of devices, and finally, we will have to use a huge network of technologies to have these devices and also to manage this data. I just want to dive deeper and very quickly on these 4 topics. But before I want to do that, if you go back 10 years back and artificial intelligence and the innovations in artificial intelligence, any advancements in a specific artificial intelligence sort of technology was so siloed that it did not have an impact on some other innovation of artificial intelligence. To give you a sort of an example, advancements in natural language processing did not have much influence on advancements on visual recognition, for example. But today, deep machine learning impacts all of the advancements and innovations that you have in place. It doesn't stop there. If you look a few years back, edge AI and the chips used to cost thousands of dollars, consume thousands of watts, and used to be largely restricted to data centers. But if you look at it today, it's very different. You can buy these chips for mere dollars. They're extremely low powered, and they're already available on smartphones. And this is what we call as the canopy effect. You have an interconnection of systems that are all over this place. So if you look at any of these connectivity technologies, whether the low Earth orbit satellites, the 5G private networks, edge AI, or devices and the complete ecosystem of devices, they're all interconnected. So if you look at low Earth orbit satellites, where we are today and maybe even at the end of the year is nothing compared to about 16,000 satellites that you will have in a few years' time. Elon Musk has a dream that he wants to blanket the entire Earth with about 10,000 satellites. The sort of things that we are talking about is amazing because you have 3 billion people today who are not having access to the internet, and if you're able to provide access to people at an affordable cost, the magnitude is very different. Many years back, to launch a satellite, used to have satellites which are about 600 kilograms, and it used to cost about $19,000 per kilogram to launch a satellite. But today, you can launch something like 200 kilograms of satellite. That's what is SpaceX Starlink satellite with about $600,000. Now, if you're able to bring down costs to such a magnitude and you can make it affordable to everyone, it's amazing. So if you look at people like Amazon, you have Kepler Communications, a number of service providers are getting into this space because the opportunity is huge. There are predictions that it will run into $500 billion in the next decade or so in terms of the sort of potential that these low Earth orbit satellites you will have. Again, this helps us to give that sort of a connectivity which otherwise is not actually available. If you go to 5G, I did talk about some of the factories in Europe which are looking at having more than 6 million connected devices. 5G gives you that potential to have more than 1 million devices per square kilometer. There are operators in Europe. There's a Finnish operator which actually does only 5G private networks. It leases spectrum, and then it uses that spectrum to actually provide connectivity to the industries. So that's where the world is going to go to, and that's where it's going to completely change the sort of landscape that we are talking about. We believe in Deloitte that by end of this year, you are going to have about 100 commercial deployments, as far as the 5G private networks are concerned. And China is extensively, forging ahead in this space, and this is something for us to watch out for. Though it is still early days for India, and we expect that by 2022 is when 5G will actually be a reality as far as we are concerned. China is moving ahead, given the opportunities to revolutionize the factories, and more than 30 to 35% of 5G private networks is going to be in the manufacturing space. The other big area where 5G private networks is going to play a big role and connectivity is going to play a big role is seaports. You have thousands of containers, thousands of employees, and you have so many, machines and robots there that you will have a system which is all connected. You can still make it function today with all the wiring that is in place, but it's not going to have an effect that the connectivity is going to make a difference in people's life. We briefly spoke about, edge AI and those aspects, but if you again look at some of the market size, it's staggering. We expect that about 750 million edge AI chips is going to be sold shortly, and within 3 years, it's going to go to about 1.5 billion devices. So the market for edge AI ability to do that processing locally is again staggering and something that you need to possibly watch out for. Finally, one thing is on the devices. Now, you do have smartphones. We all know that it has bucked the trend of everything else. It's growing at an amazing space. But if you look at the accessories or the multiplier market, it's profound. What you're going to have with your wearables, the way things are going to happen, it is going to be unmatched, and this is going to something which is going to change because of the sort of connectivity that you have in place. Again, the potential here in terms of what 5G can do, what connectivity can do, is again very different. I just wanted to quickly run through some of the key points that I made in the presentation earlier. All of these things, as we call as the canopy effect, they are all interconnected. We are at the cusp of unprecedented opportunities. Yes, if you look at the capex spend of our operators, I know many of my friends from the equipment providers will know this better. In the last 4 years, the operators have spent about $66, $70 billion. If you look at China, if you look at US, it's closer to $200 billion of capex spend. But they all know, and I think they're all sitting here today because they know that it is for a very brief phase, and it's going to, the spend is going to go up significantly once the debt situation and the balance sheets of the operators improve. There's a lot to be done, and a significant impact is going to be on enterprises and industries and the related aspects. One should remember that we have been able to quickly get to the digital adoption. There are a lot of macroeconomic events. Demonetization is one of them, which also has done. So I've been told that my time is up. Thank you again for the opportunity. And I just want to say that if we don't get this right, and if we keep waiting, the other countries and you have other industries which will forge ahead, and it is time for us to act. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for presenting us the future landscape and highlighting the trends. We are hopeful that the telecom sector will also see some achhe din, and there is no pun intended in this.